All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My little eyeball thing here is set up. Good morning. Okay, that's better. Good morning, everybody. This is Jenny Norris, and this is Home Staging Talk Show Live. So first, I want to check the sound. Those of you listening, do I sound normal or weird? Melissa, can you hear me? Do I sound okay? When I did a webinar and I connected through my computer with a headset, it made me sound like Minnie Mouse again. So anyhow, welcome everybody to Home Staging Talk Show Live. And I am Jenny Norris, your host. Thanks, Virginia. So we've got a great show for you today. Got a good lineup. So my guests are here in the studio. You look fabulous. Okay, so quickly some announcements. First, of course, our conference coming up October 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Nashville. So tickets are selling. We're looking for a great crowd's going to be there. Great vendor expo as well. Lots of companies coming to meet all of you. And so get your ticket. The hotel block is still available. So if you go to reserve a hotel room and you're told something different, you need to let me know. And also, we do not have rent of house rooms. So people are being told that that is incorrect. We negotiated with the hotel that the room that you select is the room you're going to get. And so I did get emails last week with contrary information. So that is not the case. And if you hear that, you have to let me know. But don't wait to get your hotel rooms because the block will end, the one that we've reserved, by September 3rd. And then the rates will go up. So make sure to get your hotel rooms. We're going to have a great time in Nashville. And of course, our keynote speaker celebrities are Candace Olson on Friday and Tom, Felicia, and Carson Cressley on Saturday, which is really great. So they'll be sharing, and then there'll be meet and greet time and get pictures and so forth with them. Candace is also going to be joining us on our awards dinner cruise, which is really fun. So I know that's going to be fun. She sounds, I mean, we've had her on the show, but she's a real genuine person, very likable, and I think it'll be fun to have her on there. Okay, and then our speaker lineup, of course, is here. So we have 25 topics shared by 39 different speakers. So lots of great information. We have something for everybody. So whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced staging business owner, we have something for everybody, topics that will pertain to you. So definitely check those out on our site, IAHSPconexpo.com. Those of you tuning in, hi Yolanda. Those of you tuning in, please share this segment on your page so we reach as many people as possible. This is our conference overview. So we have 39 speakers, 25 topics, because we have panels that'll be sharing panel discussions. So some of those have 4 or 5 people on it. You're going to get your investor staging consultant designation, of course, and those will be that Saturday morning. So the Saturday morning session, every attendee that's there will receive their ISC, and working with investors, and also we're going to touch on Airbnb. So I'm really excited for that lineup, which will be really great. The speakers have a wealth of information from how to get the business to even working with the investors on design elements, and possibly even moving into that realm yourself with, you being involved in that too. So one of our speakers, that's what she's been doing. So that's very exciting. Then we have our advanced stager training on October 6th and 7th. And so these are for 6-figure and above business owners. And so if you're there or you're going to get there by October, definitely register. It's a workshop, 2 days, and intensive. And so it's not really people talking to you from stage. It will be in a group setting. We're going to break into subgroups and delve into topics that are helpful to you and your business. And there's a lot to be said for getting around other business owners, or where you are or where you want to be, and hearing some of their challenges and some of the things that they do to make their business more successful. So we're very excited for that. And our panel, if you will, of moderators, workshop leaders, and so forth is here. So we have Marianne Cherico, JoAnne Lenart Weary, Catherine Lewis Brown, Melissa Marro, myself, and then Jana Usselton. So great industry leaders. They've all had successful businesses. They talk to other people about having successful businesses and mentoring and coaching. And so on top of that, we're going to have 3 additional speakers who will be sharing specific topics. And you're going to hear a lot about these topics at conference, but specifically on the advanced stager training. So Renee Helton on success, sales, productivity, business productivity, and so forth. And she is with Keller Williams, and she's done the MAPS coaching and does a lot of business productivity. And she has a real estate school here as well. So she'll be speaking along with Jonathan Miller, who'll be talking about marketing and branding. And then Brandy Sales, who'll be talking about video tech and other tech elements that we need to be incorporating in our businesses. So, and these are all time savers too, which is really great. So excited for that. Hey, Teresa. All right, what else do I have? Okay, yes. So next week, so I leave. Oh, actually, stay down here. So we have then one more plug. Barb Schwartz, of course, was our inspirational keynote. She'll be there on Friday evening on the boat. And so we're looking forward to hearing from her. We also have volunteers. So I'll give a little plug for this. So thank you for those of you that have signed up to be a volunteer. The volunteer website is IHOSPConExpo volunteers, plural.com. So IHOSPConExpo volunteers.com. So if you would like to help the decorations committee, or just maybe you're coming in a day early and you can help us with swag bags or getting things prepared, we definitely appreciate that. And the big setup in the ballroom will be on Thursday, late morning, early afternoon. All right. So we have coming up this week, Las Vegas, our wholesale market tour is on the 28th. So if you are wanting to learn how to shop wholesale and take advantage of the different vendors that we have set our pricing, special pricing with, and what we're getting is stocking dealer price plus additional benefits from a lot of these vendors, these companies. And that's not what you can't walk in the showroom by yourself and get that. You'll get a designer discount, which might be 20% off of retail, but the stocking dealer could be anywhere from 40 to 60% off retail. So we've negotiated all that with our wholesale buying program. And so then our vendor wholesale tours are done at market. So if you would like to come, it's still not too late to get a ticket to Vegas. The tour is on the 28th. So that should be, I believe, Sunday. So definitely plan to be there. And if this time doesn't work out for you, we do these at most of the markets, High Point, Vegas for sure, and then we might do Atlanta again next year. So I am speaking there. Those of you that are going to be there, people who are going to be there on the 29th, I will be sharing from 3:30 to 5, and it's a seminar on how to strategically and successfully add staging to a design business. So those people that are watching and you're interested in getting into home staging, or somebody that's interested, have them come to the session. There's no charge for it, and it's a lot of really great information about the similarities, but they're mostly the differences in how to run a staging business, how it varies and how it differs from design. And then from that, people can make a decision about their next steps. So that'll be great. And then we also have a panel discussion, which I'm excited about. So this will be on the 30th, which is Tuesday. And so this is a collaborative panel between HSRA and IHOSP. So I'm very excited for that. And so you can see on the panel, it's myself and Jana have facilitated this. We also have Blair Hamady, Carol Morgan, Sandra Holmes, and Barb Heil-Sonic will be on the panel. We'll be sharing again about, taking questions from the audience and so forth. We're talking about staging businesses and then kind of delving more into some of the trends that we're seeing and, what builders expect to see in certain houses in that niche, but also just in general what we're seeing as far as design and staging trends, how they might align or be different. So that'll be a great session. And that again is the 30th, which is Tuesday from 3 to 4:30 at Market. All right. So, and a lot of you are seeing these coming out. Congratulations to all the award winners and yoo-hoo! And so these did go out through GMass, which is through Gmail. It's a way to send more than one email at a time. But it comes out, it looks like it comes to you personally, because the last time when I did all the nominations, that people were nominated, I did all those by, one-on-one, I wrote to everybody. Well, it took days and hours. So this was an easier method to do it, but evidently some people didn't get theirs. So check your junk or spam, because if you got a nomination, most likely you also received the recognition. So make sure to check for that. And if for some odd reason you can't find it, then just email me. But I've had a couple people reach out. So I apologize if the system didn't do what it was supposed to do and things got sent to the wrong place. So, but congratulations to all the winners. This is the recognition for the best of home staging in staging excellence, client care excellence, and industry leadership. So proud of everybody. And we'll have a map of all the winners, plus we'll publish a list of all the winners. And so congratulations to everybody that you were recognized. You were recognized by your colleagues. So you were nominated by a colleague, recognized by your peers for this. So that's really great. And so we will be announcing the IAHSP conference awards. Those will come out in August as far as you being able to submit. So that is a separate thing. Those awards will be given out at conference. So congratulations to everybody. And I think that's everything I had on my little list here. Okay, good. We got a great show for you today. We have two powerhouse guests. So we have JoAnne Lenart Weary and we also have Melissa Marro. So JoAnne asked to come on first because she has a session to teach. I'm going to bring JoAnne on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Look,
everybody. I see you found the two quietest people you could find on today's segment. Melissa and I are the two shy ones out there in the industry.
Right, exactly.
So everybody get ready. You might want to pour yourself a mimosa or something for this morning.
We love having you on. And so for those who don't know, this is JoAnne Lenart Weary, and she is from, what's the city you're in Pennsylvania? I can never remember. It's a little
actually in Waterford, Pennsylvania.
Waterford.
No, we don't make the crystal there. But we make people like me. We make good,
which is awesome.
Good, hearty stock people.
Which is great. And so one of the reasons I want to have JoAnne on is not only because she's a fabulous guest, but we are working together for her classes as well. So the color courses, I want you to talk about the different classes that you have, the ones that are online, the ones people can attend. And when you're an IAHSP member, you save money. And then you're rolling out a brand new course on decorating. And it was interesting because a person on the Home Staging Professionals page yesterday was writing about who does occupied home staging, and that's what I kind of want to focus on, and working with what people have, and then I want to do a decorating type thing. And so I was like, you have to connect with JoAnne because this class has been rolling out and it's perfect for stagers. So all right, so share a little bit about who you are and all that good stuff.
Okay, well, who I am is I'm the old broad still in the industry. And I said, this is wonderful. You get old enough, you start getting these awards. So it's pretty cool to get them. And thank you very much, IAHSP, and whoever nominated me. But essentially, I started out with a wallpapering and painting business 44 years ago. I did that because I loved houses. And so I could legally get into houses that way. I also had my real estate license. And at that time, I was staging 70s, 80s. I was staging when interest rates were 18%. And this was before this was a official career that Barb has catapulted to such a great income stream. But I just knew if things looked better, they sold better. So for me, I was always a decorator who staged as opposed to a stager who decorated, because the bulk of my business was decorating. And many of my staging clients then became my design clients. So it was a match made in heaven. And for anybody that's on this call and you're looking for other revenue streams, if you are not connecting with the sellers and or the buyers as they're coming into that house to offer this next facet, you're leaving money on the table, because this is a great way to make money. So over the years, I began building some online presence. I was, AOL had me, this tells you how old I am, Jenny. AOL had me as their home and garden forum advisor. So I used to do talk shows just like this. The difference was we typed every answer. So I'm telling you, my skills became mad. So in this case, then I would answer all the questions, and then someone had asked me to speak at some national conference. And truly, I was like, really, me? To speak at a conference? We're talking now like 22 years ago. And what I found was all that 20 some years that I'd already been in business, I'd learned a lot of stuff. So again, what I think is important for all of you that are starting new, I want you to know that even if you feel unsure, just learn from every job, because every job that you do, you're going to get better and better at what you do. And also, understand design foundations, because if you understand color and design foundations, you're going to have consistently great rooms. If you just rely on gut instinct, you're going to have inconsistent success in there. So your jobs will change, and depending on how you are. So that's what we are going to be focusing on. That's kind of the role that I am playing here, is I'm bringing the design end into the staging community more. And I know, Jenny, you see it all the time too. And we hear it all the time. People will say, I walked into a staging job. I just read one this morning, and they said, I wanted to rearrange everything because they didn't know what they were doing. And you don't know what you don't know. And we also operate on what I call our decorating DNA, our darn near always. So if your mom or your grandmother or your girlfriend always put her lamp on the right of the table, chances are you put your lamp on the right of the table. We learn by osmosis and what we observe. The problem is, if you put your lamp to the right or your high point to the right, you stop the eye. So you always want to put the high point of a grouping on a mantle, on a shelf, on a table to the left, so the eye keeps moving around the room. Once you know those kind of things, you go, oh, I got it. Yeah, I can rock this. So that's where I am. All these years in business have evolved into the fact that I see stagers need to understand the design foundations more and color foundation. So my color class is the Confident Color System, and it's available both in a live workshop and an online version. And the online version is what I call a blended class. So a blended class means that during the course of the class, I have office hours weekly. So wherever you are in the class, I can hop in. You can hop in on my office hours, and I answer questions. There's projects. And now the new class is the Stager's Guide to Decorating, and that launches. I do not have my calendar in front of me, Jenny. It is the second Monday of August. Is that like August 10th?
I think it's the 8th. Well, let me look. Hang on. Oh, yeah. So it's the 12th.
The 12th. So it launches August 12th, but we will be doing a free webinar next Thursday. So you kind of get some insight into the class, and I'll make sure that Jenny has the link for that.
So that's your complimentary webinar on Thursday, and that's kind of give you the intro to the Stager's Guide to Decorating. And so if people want to get more information on the Stager's Guide to Decorating, where do they go?
Come to the webinar. And we will do that. And then I also will send you the link, Jenny, to the page with all the description on there, so they can get all the deets, as the kids say.
Yeah, and how many weeks is it? How many sessions?
It is 6 sessions, and then there is a bonus marketing session. And then again, you can complete all those modules in a week, in 6 weeks, whatever you do. Many of the modules do have homework or exercises that go with them, and it's entirely optional. It's up to you. If you really want to learn, then you're going to do those exercises. You're going to send them to me, and I will critique them for you. If you just want to listen to me carry on for 6 modules, then you go ahead and listen to me carry on. But the bottom line is, in that class also, I will have office hours where you can hop on with me, ask your questions, and we just want you to have a stronger foundation of design.
And I think that's important, because is my all like, I sound weird, don't I now?
No, no.
Okay.
You sound fine.
Okay, good. I think a lot of people do trust their gut when they stage. They kind of go, when you sort of feel the space, and we even kind of go back to the, once you've staged, you go back, you open your eyes and go, how does this feel? And I know we teach with staging, you want to keep the flow open and you're selling space. I actually had and it's not that, like, I feel like I always tell people there's not just one right way to arrange a room. There's not just one right way to stage. There might be a better way. So to not be afraid to shift things around. I had a client that they rearranged. This always annoys me. So we stage it, and then they come and I look at the pictures online, and it's not anywhere where we left the stuff. And so they created it's a nice grouping, but there's like this much space in between the edge of the couch and a wall. I mean, and that's the only access to get into the kitchen. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why we didn't position it that way, because now you have just cut off the main access. Buyers are going to feel like there's not enough space. And so people will do that. They'll, try different arrangements. And so the principles behind it, as far as access paths and so forth, do you touch on that in the seminar at all, or?
Absolutely. So we know that when you're decorating, you need a minimum of 24 inches for a walkway. When you are staging, that should be 32 to 36 inches. And one of the big factors, even if you are designing the space for something, if I haven't met the husband, I go check out the closet and see what size shoes he wears. If he's a big man, he needs more room to move through that space.
That's funny. So we froze. Hopefully this is going to come back.
Oh, yes, you are froze. I don't know if I am or not. But understanding that when you're staging, you have no idea who is walking through that space. So you want to make sure that you allow plenty of room for them to move through. And again, once you know those rules, just like those people, they rearranged the furniture. If they'd gotten their tape measure out, they would have known, had they known the foundation, they would have known not to do that. So we want to arm you with the kind of things that can, like you say, intrude on the flow. And then another huge mistake is staging is stagers tend to focus primarily on what I call the function zone of the room, 0 to 36 inches. And so that part of the space can become very bottom heavy. But when we're staging, we need to think about vertical balance. We're selling volume. We're not just selling the footprint of the space. So good design is going to help you to understand the ramifications of weight, also line, shape, form. What happens to a room when there's a lot of verticals in it? What happens is the potential buyer walking through is going to mimic the line that they are seeing. So if they're seeing a lot of vertical lines, they're going to be very straight and stiff. And walk out of that house and say, I didn't feel good in there and I don't know what it was. Well, it's because you forced them into a body language that was foreign to them. A lot of symmetry in staging is not as powerful because, again, what it does is it creates this sense of stiffness in us, in our body language. We respond to what we see visually. So in the master bedroom, I do want to use more symmetry because it talks about pairs. I saw a picture the other day and it was a master bedroom, and I'm always hesitant. It's like I want to jump on every picture and say, hey, do you know how you could make this better? But I always try to be very considerate because I never want to offend anybody. But they had a king size headboard and they had hung 2 pieces of art that were too small. And not only were they too small, but they were very far apart. So rule of thumb, if you're doing a grouping, palms width is a good rule of thumb to use. They were probably apart 3 or 4 inches. So I looked in the master bedroom with the large headboard and the art apart. And what that told me is the people that lived in that room didn't connect. It sent that message that emotionally there would be distance between the people that were in that space. So understanding, not only is design about design and functionality, but it is so much about emotion. So there was, when I looked at that room, and then also the lamps did not match, which normally I don't want them to match, but in a master bedroom, I want them to match because, again, it shows coupledom. It shows that the people that live in here are going to have a great relationship. And isn't that, every house we buy is about buying the promise. If I buy this house, my kids are going to be well behaved. My husband's going to be amazing. I'm going to be a size 6. And, the reality is it doesn't work that way. But we want to help them to feel the dream that house presents. And it's all about designing for selling.
So it's interesting because have you seen the houses where they have the lamps and then the artwork right behind the lamps to kind of create, and then you have the headboard? Is that, because then you have, to me, that's like 1, 2, like you have 3 things. That's okay? But not like you were talking about the pictures over the headboard and they were too
over
far
the
apart.
headboard.
Okay.
Yeah. So what that did is I'm looking at the bed where we are together as a couple, but those pictures gave me distance. So no, bringing the art out behind the lamps or the mirrors behind the lamps in master bedroom is a great idea, because what you just did was you visually broadened the room, but they were connected to the anchor of the nightstand. So now it makes sense. And the headboard bridges them. So as long as the headboard is tall enough, it bridges those pieces of art. And now you have a unit.
So talk about artwork, since we're on that topic anyway. Kind of drives me nuts when sometimes you go to these, you look at pictures and people have used artwork. It's like you said, too little, or they hang it too high.
Yes.
So like this is a challenge. A lot of people, they have vaulted ceilings, and so it could be stagers, but oftentimes it's the homeowners. They think, well, my gosh, my ceilings are so tall, I'm going to hang artwork like way up there. And the logic behind that, I'll explain that you can't see that. You'd never go to a museum and be like this looking at the artwork. You have to have it down at eye level. But what else can people do to emphasize height besides hanging a picture way up there?
So first of all, Jenny, that's an excellent question. So first of all, what we want to think about is we always design from the floor up. So think of every room as having an 8-foot or a 9-foot ceiling. Now, if the room is taller, you're going to stack art. But the bottom art has to connect to the anchor in the room, i.e. the sofa, the sideboard, the bookshelves, whatever it may be. And it should be from the top of the anchor to the bottom of that frame or that artwork, somewhere in the range of 4 to 8 inches. And then you also want to fill 2/3 of the space. So 2/3 is just a good rule that will guide you. Think about the fact that when it comes to shapes, the triangle is the most pleasing shape to the human eye. And so when we work in that element of 2/3, what we are actually creating is a triangle. So it feels good, it feels pleasing and pleasant. So oftentimes, and especially in staging, and newbie decorators and DIYers, they do what I call vignette decorating. It's like they go to Home Goods, they buy these things, they put it here, and they say, oh, doesn't this look pretty right here? Well, that little corner may look pretty, but if it doesn't connect to the right, to the left, above, and below, then all you're doing is creating a series of vignettes and not cohesion. And especially when we're staging, we need that cohesive feel in the room that design and color can bring into the picture.
What you said is really true, because there's like little random piles of stuff, like in a corner or by a mantle. And so like on a mantle, you could do, like I've seen the lanterns, things that are tall, varying height, but I've seen people put like little teeny things like on the floor, and it's like, I feel like I'm going to trip on it. Doesn't make any sense. Or they feel like there's one more thing they had to, I have some extra accessories. Where should I put these? And they stick them on the floor or in a corner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's shorter than 36 inches, other than a piece of furniture, it shouldn't be in the room, because it is what I call a knee knocker. People are looking this way. They're looking at the power zone of the room, which is at 36, 78 inches. And that's where they're going to focus when they're walking through house. So don't give them any chance. And you're eating up valuable space. They want as much room as their 200, 300 to 600 million dollars can afford to buy. They want as much room as possible. So don't eat it up with incidentals. I was working with someone the other day, a new assistant that was helping me. And I always work in a cycle. I start with the most important part of the room. I work in a clockwise manner. And she's a frustrated decorator, and I respect that completely. I turned around and we had finished the mantle already. And I turned around and she'd put all this stuff on the hearth. And I said, no, not going to work. She said, but it's a space. Yes, it is a space, but it's a space that's too low and it doesn't matter. So let's eliminate that. And it was hard for her, because she wanted to be able to incorporate every possible corner of that room. But letting the eye breathe is an important aspect of it.
Yeah, the layers sometimes that people add in. Do I sound okay to you guys? Because I sound it in my own ears. I sound like I'm a monster.
Jenny, you sound fabulous.
know. I saw like Godzilla, like.
Thank you for adding those noise effects to our.
In my hair. Okay. And I look at my mirror image. And I'm like, what's that? Okay.
No,
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
You are doing fine.
Well, but that's true that people will, you know, and this is something that people that are watching, it's the difference between staging is, that's what we say, it's not decorating or design, because you're adding layers with decorating and design. And so we incorporate the elements. So I think this class you're going to have is going to be so valuable because people need to understand the foundations, the principles behind it. But then there's a point where my motto is, just because we bring it doesn't mean we have to use it for inventory, because I'm like,
absolutely,
we don't want to pour everything in. And there's a point where you want to, you know, is it to the point of distraction? Like when I look at a room, I don't want to notice every single little thing. It's like, can I take it in as a whole? And the staging should add, you know, pleasing visual appeal and color, but not be like, oh God, look at that cool pillow. Look, you know, they're not noticing this stuff.
Right. And let's share, Jenny, the one point you and I've talked about before that you said you've liked sharing. Let's talk a little bit about decorating with color. So in our world, and some of you may have heard me say this before, but you know, in our world of design, we tend to decorate in neutrals. In our world of designing to sell, we tend to decorate in neutrals. And then you look around the room and you go, well, this needs a little pop of something, something. And so what we tend to do is we add the color in the interior part of the room with throw pillows, possibly an area rug, maybe a floral. So it sits in the middle of the room where our grouping is. So that's where my eye is going to be drawn when I walk into that space. And what I just did was I made the room smaller because my eye was drawn to the interior of the space. Now, if I take that color and I bring it to the perimeter of the room in a piece of art, in some type of organic element, book bindings, whatever it may be, now my eye will go to the perimeter of the space. And so I just made that room bigger. I validated the sales price. And that's exactly what staging is all about. We are validating why that house is listed at what it is listed. And if you think of it that way, it will completely change your approach to the process.
Well, it's funny. So last week I said, no, that's like a monster getting in my head. So sorry. Last week I used that same, I told you I used that principle. So we were meeting with a client yesterday. He's been on the market, I don't know, 3 months or something, and hasn't sold. And so switching realtors, and my husband and son picked up the listing, but it's a condo. And he has all this stickly furniture, so real heavy, kind of Adirondack, the big, you know, wood. And so the feedback has been everything's too heavy. He has, you know, bookshelves and cabinets, and, you know, you can hardly walk down hallways. And he already took out an entire room full, is crammed full of furniture, plus his garage, plus he already sent a whole truck up to Vancouver, Washington. And so I'm talking with them, and I got to get this furniture out of this house because it's too heavy. But he had area rugs. So he had this beautiful, like red kind of, you know, traditional rug, but it's in the family room. And I use that thing. I said, my eye's drawn to the floor and I'm not seeing the rest of the perimeter. So you have greatly influenced. I mean, I use that philosophy when I talk to almost every single client, and even with teaching. So that's, I think, so valuable that people will zing in on a color. And if you don't have it anywhere else, you're drawing their attention down instead of around the room.
Right.
And it makes so much sense, but, you know, people don't understand that. They'll bring like a really beautiful area rug, but that's all I notice. And then I'm like, wow, that's a cool rug, but then I'm not noticing anything else in the room.
Right.
So,
and that's such a good point, Jenny. And I think the one thing that I really want to get across in both my color class and in the new decorating class is we, again, often do things with gut instincts. I mean, that's how I began. You know, this was the talent that God blessed me with, that I can see composition and I visualize, but I couldn't always verbalize what I was saying or what I was seeing. So what I often would say to the client is, I think this is what we should do. I think is not strong enough. What I want you to say is, let me tell you why. So that's what I want to do with these classes. And I want to arm you with the understanding of the why behind the process, because that's when your clients are going to feel more confident in your hands. It'll help you add another revenue stream to your business if you wanted to add design there, because if you understand the whys of what you're doing, you also understand the why nots.
Which is so important. And I'm a big advocate of that. Like when I go talk to a seller, you know, owner occupied, for example, and we're saying you need to take your personal photos down and, you know, the typical things are rearrange. I don't just like take those down. You always want to explain the why. So then
Exactly.
they understand the reasoning behind it, and they're more willing to do that, versus if you just tell them something, then they might be going like, I'm not doing that, and leave holes in the walls, or they'll come up with their own rationale of why they don't want to do it.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's never from a position of it's wrong, like how you live in your house is wrong. Like this guy, he came from Santa Fe and loved that whole Southwest, and he actually worked on Indian reservations. He had a lot of that kind of motif in the house, which is fine. So I'm always careful to make sure they know there's nothing wrong with your things. For staging, we need to attract that target buyer. And he was so funny because there's another unit for sale. And so I haven't looked at it online yet, but it's staged. So I think it has the light colored furniture and so forth. And so he told my husband, he goes, well, buyers can just go look at that property and then they'll buy mine. And we said, no, what's going to happen is they're going to go look at that property and yours will have been used to sell that one.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It's going to work in the reverse, because for the most part, the world can't visualize what those of us that are in the industry can visualize. So we just have to make it easy for them. It has to be a no-brainer.
Right.
And I always think of staging somewhat like when you go to the grocery store and they give you that little sample of food and you say, oh yeah, I didn't come in here planning on buying mango chutney, but boy, that was good. So I'm buying myself some mango chutney. And so it's just like houses. If we give them a taste of that potential, then it becomes, all right, yes, I could live here. This is what I want to do, but it all needs to go back to good design. And, I don't care whose class is out there that you're looking at. We only have so much time to teach you what we want to teach you. And there's so much that in a 3-day class, you're trying to pack into people's brains that it becomes hard. So I think our focus on this element of the process is going to empower everybody.
Yeah, because I think, excuse me, a monster. That's what it sounds like. The class that we have, it lays a good foundation for business success, but there's no way one class can teach everything somebody needs to know for all facets. So this is why having this add-on education is important. So it's going to roll out on August 12th. And so you're going to send me information. We'll share that out with everybody, put it on social media. They can register. And then we'll share what the special is for IAHSP members.
Right. And we'll do a free webinar next Thursday.
Yeah.
And then they can learn more about it and get a taste of the class. And the one thing that I think anyone can know, if you've attended any webinar, any seminar, anything you want, this is not going to be low key, blah, 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 because I don't work that way. So even when I'm trying to calm myself down, I just can't do it. So I
don't
promise
change.
I promise it'll be fun and informative. And as I said, empowering.
Good. Well, we're looking forward to it. And I know it's going to be great information. And I love that it's webinar so that you can take it out, at least you could do it all, she said, in 6 hours, all in one shot. You could do it over 6 weeks. So I think that's really smart. So really looking forward to that. All right. So say goodbye to JoAnne.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me this morning. Take care.
All right. I can bring Melissa on. So thanks, JoAnne. Really appreciated that. She has got a session she's doing in 5 minutes. So, hey.
Hey.
So I don't sound like a monster right now, which is good. So tell everybody who you are.
Talking that it hears the microphone on the other computer, and then it goes away, is what I think, because it does it to me when I do these too.
Okay, that could be.
So I'm Melissa Marro. I own Rave Home Staging, and I also run Staging and Redesign, which we have our own training program. Mostly we do mentoring, but we do have some classes, usually higher level classes. Rave Home Staging, and I'm only saying this so that it puts in perspective the knowledge that I have, not trying to brag about it. But last year, which was our 5th year in business, we did 1.1 million in sales. This year, we're on target for 1.25 million. This is my 2nd staging company. I owned one in Charleston, South Carolina, which I sold when I left there and then moved and started. That's why I've been a stager for 14 years, but this company is not that old.
Yeah, it's weird because my first company was 7 years, and then we moved. So we've been here almost 10 years in Denver, which is, it's weird because I've lived here longer than I did in Roseville near Sacramento, but we always kind of think, oh, well, that was where home was. But so
Right.
talk a little bit about that. The geography. Someone was talking about moving or having to do something, and I said the great thing about our industries, it is transportable. I mean, we're not relegated to you can only work in one state and we have to start all over again, like with licensing or what have you. So, what was that like for you, having to start over?
It was horrible, to be honest. It was very difficult. We ran a high six-figure company. We hadn't hit seven figures, but we ran a high six-figure company there. And, we had staff and we had our own movers and we had a big warehouse and we had systems and honestly, when we moved to Florida, I had not planned on starting a staging company because the idea of doing it from scratch was daunting. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the area. And then honestly, it worked out that I walked into Home Goods and was like,
My people, my things.
This is my people.
I missed you.
I have so missed you. So before I knew it, I was buying a whole bunch of stuff and putting it in my car or my minivan. And I was like, well, I guess I'm a stager again. I better go find some work. And I don't necessarily recommend that's how most people should start. But I really sat and, with bringing everything in. My husband's like, what are you doing, babe? And, because it was an odd assortment of things. And I'm like, well, I guess I decided to be a stager again. And he's like, well, if that's what makes you happy, do that. And I sat and I thought, and the first thing I asked myself is, okay, if I were starting over, which apparently I am, what would I do differently than I did the first time? And so it was nice because I was able to hit the ground running, if you will, because I knew what I did well and I knew what I did less well. And I was able to focus more of my energy on things and my money on things that I knew were effective for me and move the path forward. So it's never a formula and every area is different, but I do find there are certain things that you can do as activities that will get you better results in a faster time. And so that was 100% my focus.
So which is interesting. So, you are not only, a very successful businesswoman, but also a marketing genius, if you will, because you understand that aspect of it. And I think a lot of stagers, business people in general, get into something and they have a talent, a flair. They could pull a room together, but they don't know how to get the business. And there was a gal that was posting on one of the groups, and she was doing email marketing and she was sending out newsletters, and they were all passive marketing. And so my advice was, you got to pick up the phone. You got to do some in-time, FaceTime, because what you're doing is all the passive marketing, which, that has an effect, but it doesn't. The most important one is you've got to get in front of people and talk to people. And I think a lot of stagers are afraid of, I call it the 50-pound phone. They don't want rejection. And so, but the phone isn't just going to ring because you build a website and you get a business card.
Yeah. And I'll also say it's not only that it's passive marketing, the way they speak to people is passive. And so like when we do weekly group mentoring, weekly group coaching calls. And one of the things that I really try to teach the people who are tuning in and we're bantering back and forth is, and they'll talk about, well, I didn't hear back or I didn't get that job. And I'm like, well, tell me exactly how you asked for the job. And many times they didn't actually ask for it. They didn't actually, come with what day do you want this stage? Or, presume that you already own it. They're waiting for the other person to say, okay, well, let's move forward. Whereas you have to be the one to respond, when do you want it done? And walk into the deal owning the sale. And then even I have found newsletters is actually, I'll say, what got me started. My big break in staging. The first newsletter that I sent out when I started my first, in Charleston, the very first thing I did, I sent out a newsletter, and within 20 minutes, I had 10 phone calls from that newsletter and got my first 3 jobs. And that's what propelled me forward. And the first year of business, I found that my newsletter generated $100,000 in gross revenue directly from the newsletter. But again, it's not about being passive. And I know there's a lot of men in this industry now, and so they're a little bit better at not having this because I think it's sort of bred into men, even gay men. And women, just seem to have a problem being assertive and being sort of owning the idea that it's okay to ask for money. It's okay to close the deal. It's okay to be to not be meek or not be timid, and to say things in ways that can sometimes be shocking but effective.
Right. And I think the email, excuse me, I know it's, I feel like people like me, first of all, people are going to do newsletters. They're always like, I use Constant Contact. There's eye contact. And my husband has one. It's called, was e-newsletter solutions. And then they rebranded themselves. But that one's kind of cool because it has canned content that they curate. And you can pull a newsletter together pretty quickly. So I think a lot of people are like, I don't know what to put in it. But furthermore, they'll recommend send it at 8 a.m. on whatever. I'm like, I'm not doing that, because if anybody's like me, the first thing I do when I get my email is I don't even, if it's not from somebody I know or something I think I care about, I delete everything, because I get a couple hundred that'll show up overnight, and I have 4 different emails. And so if you're going to send an email newsletter out, do it at like a random time, like 11:15 or something, where it's going to be the only thing really showing up because they've already purged their morning junk. And but there's also, do you ever use a flyer service like the real estate flyers, e-flyers and things like that the realtors get for classes? That might be for people that are sending things out. What do you think? And these, of course, you have to pay for. These are not free services.
We used to use those in Charleston. I haven't used them in Jacksonville. But with the newsletter, we actually have it kind of down, when to send it kind of down to a science, because we understand the consumer so well, at least for realtors. And so we talk about that in the mentoring, that we have that, we actually have sort of the formula in blogs about it, so that people know exactly what to put in it to be effective, and what time and what day of the week and the month it should go out, because all of those are really important factors. But I agree, email is less effective than it used to be. We do a lot of farming when we're slow. At least in the beginning of the business, farming was everything for me in getting started. And then the other big part is, so I'm like others. I have a 50-pound phone. I hate answering my phone. Even now I hate answering my phone, which is why I have a salesperson, and I hate going to functions. That's why I have a salesperson. But there are certain networking events you just have to get into, and you have to look for opportunities where you can be the star of the show, if you will. I'm not a good networker. I know I'm not a good networker. I don't like to network. I would rather go get a root canal than go to a networking meeting. It's true. You've seen me. I like to be in my bubble, and often people are like, "Oh, is everything okay? Are you upset?" I'm like, "No, I'm like happy being the wallflower." But when I want to impress people, I look for opportunities, volunteer opportunities to speak. When I join an organization, if they have an option as a sponsor that I get FaceTime in front of the room, then I always pay for that upgrade, because I know I'm a good speaker, and I know if I can talk to everybody in the room all at once and they suddenly know what I do, they will walk up to me, and I don't have to walk up to the people who are interested or try to figure out who in the room is interested. They'll come to me. So those are some of the secrets that I use on a regular basis. And then you can't just show up once. You have to show up all the time. You have to become a fixture. You have to become trusted. They have to believe that you are there for them and understand their business. And at this point, it's funny, because I've been told that there's a big networking group in our area for flippers, and flippers are probably 80% of my business. And there's like I said, it's a big group, and I walk in there and it's almost like I'm a celebrity. People want to come and talk to me because they know who I am. The existing people are always like, "Oh, you need to meet Melissa Marro. Come this way." And they're dragging people to me and asking, tell them what you do, tell them what you do. And so other people are saying, asking me to talk about what I do, versus me having to find the people who would be effective to learn what I do.
Yeah, and I think the networking, there's, to hone in on the networking group. So there's like meetups. That's a great way to find specific groups to join. But even like you're talking about investor groups, people can Google investor groups in your area and they'll show up. And so if you can get with a niche specific, like even like a builder, if you're like, I want to work with builders, we'll go where the builders are going to be. So if they have meetings, right. And the real estate meetings, the realtors, they have awards things once a year or twice a year. You might be able to sponsor a table if you want to get around. And the reason sometimes a group like that would be cool is because those are all the top producers in the area that would attend like a we had the Diamond Awards or something here.
Mhm.
And so, and so you have to plan for that for marketing. I think a lot of people don't budget for marketing. They think, oh, I got my business card, I got my brochure, I got my website, I'm done. And they don't realize that there needs to be more investment in that with, like you're saying, with sponsoring events and being part of the groups where your target clients are. I'm still surprised when you say you don't like to network, because but I get it though, because sometimes I'm just sort of like, I like to sit back and observe. I don't necessarily want to be like the one up front. And so, but you have to force yourself into certain roles at times.
Well, I love being on stage and I love
Mhm.
talking about what I do and educating and sharing that, but I hate small talk. Like I genuinely, and I mean, it sounds like I'm a horrible person, but my mind doesn't care about how many kids you have and what plans they have for summer and what you do for Christmas and what your spouse's name is. If it doesn't relate to what I'm there for, my brain doesn't hold on to it. It doesn't filter it. I don't remember these things. I'll come back and my husband's like, oh, you saw so-and-so, how's their blah, 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 and the surgery. And I'm like, what? Who, what? Oh yeah, I saw on Facebook they had that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think to ask that question. And so, I mean, that's just how I am. And it's not that I'm 100% business. I love other things, but I just, it's just not my cup of tea to sit and socialize. And I remember going to one conference and I kind of chastised a lot of the people there because they were there to learn and grow. And, there had been a lot of chit chat about how there's never enough information at some of the conferences except for when there's speakers, but there's not enough small things, and how they would really like more opportunities to network with other people and blah blah blah. And then I would find at lunch they were all sitting and talking about their kids and their pets, and I'm like, duh, this is the time that you have for that.
Yeah.
Like, make use of it. Go sit with a stager that you admire and start networking and asking questions. And don't just sit with your friends at lunch then. If that's what you want to do. Now, if that you came there to socialize, that's great. But if you're there to learn and figure out more for your business, then don't say like there's not something there for you. Go take it. Go
Right.
do it. And figure out what your needs are, and don't feel like, oh, I'm afraid to go up to them. I mean, everybody's the same way. I've never met any stager that had information to share that didn't excitedly have the opportunity if somebody came up to them to share that information.
Right. And I think that's true. We call it like the meeting after the meeting, or, the sub meetings. So it's, you have all the great content, but then you can really get to know colleagues. And what she said is exactly right. Ask, well, how did you get started? Or what's been your biggest challenge? Or what would be your best success tip or something like that to kind of get a conversation going. Sometimes for people that get asked that a lot, they're sort of like, but most of those are, they still have the conversation if somebody comes up. But like you, I don't like, I'll answer my phone because it rings and stuff like that, but I don't do a lot of phone time outside of business. And I have to tell myself, like, call my mom and, catch up and take time to just not be focused over here on the business. But and I get tired of hearing myself talk after teaching a class or doing something. So I'm like, I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'll come home that sometimes it'd be like we're training a new office manager, and I've come home every day wiped because it's like every minute of the day I'm talking, it feels like. So it's like I'll come home and I'm like, I'm gonna go watch TV in the bedroom. I need quiet time. Or I'll come home and before I get out of my car, sit in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes and play a game on my phone, just because it's like I need this time before I have to see anyone else.
My mom was a adolescent psych nurse, and when I was in growing up, and she stopped working when I think was in college. She's still alive and so forth. But I remember she'd come home and this is interesting because she would she would deal with troubled children and so forth. And so she'd come home, she'd either go shopping before she came home to kind of detox from that, or she'd go in her bedroom and just be like, I need an hour, because there's the 5 girls in our family. And we're all like, we got along, but it's just, sometimes you just need to chill out. So that doesn't just speak to like what we do, but pretty much anything where it's what we do is, it's not like stressful in the sense that it's negative stressful, where you're dealing with, really ugly situations and so forth, but it is like, business. You just need to kind of chillax.
Yeah. I mean, I love what I do. Sometimes I have to pinch myself that I get paid to do what I do. I feel so fortunate. and I work with such great people, and people care what I have to say, and that feels super special and rewarding. But at the same time, I'm still human. I have my energy levels, and your tank, before you can give more, it's like your car. You have to fill it up. You won't drive forever. You have to be able to fill it up. And
Right.
sometimes that filling up is just sitting in park.
Well, it's funny because sometimes I'll even joke with people about what you said. You're surprised you get paid for to do what we do. Because you think about like a consultation. I mean, the sellers are stressed out. They're selling. They need a plan of action. And I can't believe I get paid to tell people, well, you got to make your bed, close your toilet, clean your house. I mean, some of the stuff that is not like complicated, but to me, it's some of the stuff that we share is so obvious, but there's like the first time they've ever, oh, I didn't realize I had to do that. So it's a great industry.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned over the years is common sense is not common.
Right.
Just really
And clean is a relative term. I have a client that just contacted me. Their house didn't sell, and can you take a look at it? And it's in Boulder, which Boulder prices are like, another 30-40% higher than Denver prices. So I look at this property online, and I mean, dated, ugly furniture, paint colors are wrong. And so it's just, to me, I just sort of feel like, how can people still be throwing anything on the market and thinking it's going to sell? So we still have a lot of work to do in a lot of markets. So you're, kind of cycling to your topic at conference, the marketing and so forth that you're going to be teaching on. What can attendees expect to hear from you outside of the truth?
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to. One thing I am never guilty of is being ambiguous. I would say I am always going to give it to you exactly how I see it. And for me, what I'm going to be talking about is really about building that business. It's about understanding your customer base and how you sell to that customer base, how you build that brand in there, and then how do you turn your successes into future revenue? Because one job isn't one job. If you're looking at getting a job and doing that job and that job is over, then you are losing probably at least 50% of the income that you should be experiencing, if not more than that. So for me, it really is about laying out the business plan and a marketing plan, and then moving that forward and creating a pathway that you have nearly guaranteed success. What happens is people fall off the pathway, and they get busy for a time and they stop and they veer off of it. And then they find they have no business. Or they're like, oh, I'm just not comfortable doing that, so I'm just going to skip that step. But the truth is all the steps are important. And if you can do anything consistently, even if it's uncomfortable, then you can succeed. The trick is when you're not working, to make your day full of work that is not busy work. And that's where I see most people fail, is they're like, oh, I'm busy. I did this and this and this and this and this and this and this today. I'm great. How many customers did you talk to? How many sales appointments did you make? How many interactions did you have with somebody that would buy your product? And most of the time the answer is like 2. Like every week you should be out there reaching 25 new people, 5 a day. Or sometimes it's not new people, it's following up with people. Or I'll hear that people got the opportunity to give a quote and it's 2 weeks and they haven't heard back. Well, what have you been doing for the last 2 weeks? Like, what, you're just waiting for the phone to ring again? No, you have to follow up on that. And again, then changing your language, because I find that most people don't understand their customers enough to actually know how to sell to them. You have to sell to their pain points. And the idea that an agent cares anything about selling fast and for more money is complete hogwash. Agents don't give a crap about selling faster and for more money. So, I mean, the difference in commission on in their commission check on the house selling for $10,000 more is like $125. They don't care. Their job is to fill a pipeline. How do you get them to fill the pipeline? And just like really understanding the pain points of the customer, how to sell to them, how to use the language, and then create a business plan and a marketing plan around that.
Right. You have to speak to their language. And so I actually, with the, because that is a little bit of commission, And so there's actually a marketing piece, like how much can you make or earn when you stage your listings? So I took that little piece and I'm like, if they had 2 to 4 houses per month and they add this little piece, it adds up to X amount more thousands of dollars per year and in commission. And then their seller's super happy, but then they're going to pick up more business because it's the goal for them is then it's not so much the selling faster for money. It's the fact that you sold and then they get to toot their horn in their marketing and they're going to pick up additional business. That's what speaks to the agent. And I think the follow-up piece of business, people aren't being taught that, the follow-up. They said, like you just said, they send it out and then they sit back and wait. I don't think people know what to say. And especially if they've never been in sales before and had to have that conversation. One of the easiest things that I teach is if you haven't heard from a client, in a while, you're like, I wonder what they're, I want to reach out to them. And you don't want to say, gosh, you need to hire me because I need some money. You want to say, I'm getting my calendar together for the next couple of weeks. I want to make sure if you have anything coming up, I make sure I have a spot for you on there. So then that kind of triggers every single time I've made that script call. They'll go, oh yeah, matter of fact, I have a listing coming up, or I was just thinking about you. And so then that generates the conversation of you have something to follow up on. But that's a better way than feeling like, how do I ask for business? Like I haven't heard from you in a while, or, but you have to reach out to the client and your past clients too, cultivate them.
Yeah. And sometimes, what's been effective for me is, again, I work with a lot of customers who have multiple listings coming up. Like I try to keep like the low hanging fruit active in my business. So if I have a couple of spots open in my calendar and it's like the end of the week before that, I'm going, oh, well, I still have a spot on Wednesday and Thursday and on Friday because we do 2 stages a day, but I have 3 spaces open. I'll send like blind copy a bunch of my flipper customers, especially the ones I haven't heard from in a while, like you said, and say, hey, I have, we had a delay for one of our customers and we now have 2 spots open on our calendar for next week. First come, first serve, who has what kind of thing. Like, oh my gosh, like we're going to have to do this out to get the spot and somebody better respond ASAP. And I will almost always fill it when I approach it that way, because some of our customers are used to waiting, 10 days. And in our busy season, we were booked 2.5, 3 weeks out. So if I'm messaging them and saying, hey, we have something open this week, what do you have available? They may have already flipped a house that's sitting on the market unsold, and now we'll get that staging job, whereas we wouldn't have before.
You bring up, before you even said like the timing of things, I was going to ask you the question, like a typical, stager's volume is based on, your schedule packs up based on your volume and your clients and so forth. Somebody who's newer that doesn't have the consistent volume, or you are booking 2 weeks out. One of the topics I really haven't seen a lot on is the timing, planning a timing that's realistic, reasonable for getting a project together. So from the time that somebody sees a house to like, should it be a week? We teaching people a week or 2 weeks to pull everything together, because some clients will wait and others will go find somebody who can do it sooner. And so, unless you have, really have all the spots booked, let's say it's a stager that doesn't have that, they don't know how to pull it together. So realistically, how long should it take for somebody to get the furniture and the whole thing pulled together? I mean, I know because we're experienced, we can do it pretty quickly, but that's something I don't think has really been taught to stagers. Like, what's the time frame that they should be aspiring to?
Yeah. So in my business in the early days, or even when I like moved here, and I had a lot of experience, but it was just me and, I could get movers, but I had to schedule the movers, right? It wasn't just like now, obviously I have 4 of my own guys and we have our own truck. I can make that furniture move whenever I need to. But in the beginning, that's not true. You have to hire out for those services. And so I always said 5 to 7 days. And that gave me time that I knew that I already had my resources. So I knew the movers I could get on fairly short notice that were reasonable charges. Now I knew sometimes that meant that I was going to get like a 5 o'clock spot. It wasn't going to be a 9 o'clock in the morning spot. It was going to be a 5 o'clock where I'm going to go get the furniture there and work the next day, but I could get it there at 5 o'clock and work the next day. So I would say typically that back in the beginning was, we can have this staged within 5 to 7 days. And it typically takes us about 2 days to get the work done. And I would say that not necessarily because I need 2 days to stage, but because I could, like I said, I might get an evening drop off and then have to stage the next day. So that's going to give me 2 days, or I might have to go buy stuff because I don't have it. I might have to arrange for other deliveries and things like that. And so I would have to plan around that. And now, now our team, we can almost do it the next day if we had the space open, because we do 2 stages and 2 D stages every day, Monday through Friday, excluding holidays. So, we have a quite full schedule. We have the furniture and accessories, except for when we run out and I have to buy them. And actually, I really want to possibly go to that class that you were talking about that you're going to be teaching for the buyer group. Well, I have high volume already in most companies, and just be curious about it, see how all that works. Maybe there's something I don't have. And then we have the photographer. Like, we can stage now. It actually an average house for us is 4 hours from start, like from the time the truck gets there until the stagers leave is about 4 hours. So it's a stager and 1 assistant, or a stager and 2 assistants. 4 hours, we stage every room in the house, and then the next day the photographer comes, our photographer's on staff, and the following day they get the pictures that were edited. So for us, now it's 3 days. But in the beginning, all of that was longer, because I had to be able to schedule the movers, get all the stuff coordinated, go buy a lot of stuff. I had to coordinate a photographer. And I will say, remember at the beginning, I said I started over when I moved here. And of all the things that I thought about of what I would do differently if I, starting over, the one biggest thing was, from day one when I started over, was a professional photographer for every house. Doesn't matter. I worked it into my costs and I provided those to the seller. 100%. That is what made the business grow so fast, was having that photographer available with every single house, because it made my portfolio look that much better.
Right. And I think it's a value added service. Plus, you're controlling the timing of that. And we have so many agents here that's like, well, I've already scheduled a photographer and they haven't even confirmed the delivery with me. And I'm like, listen, I don't drive the trucks because we don't have our own trucks. I do hire third party right now, but I don't drive the trucks. And I can control now, like when we're going to pick up some of those elements. But there's other deliveries. Like I have a bed guy that brings all my mattresses and box springs. And then there might be furniture that I ordered. So there could be 3 different, trucks involved. And so it's frustrating to me when they're like, well, you got to be done by 1. The photographer's coming. I'm like, well, then I guess we're not going to really need a photograph. Maybe, so I actually have in my agreement, photos will not be scheduled the same day as the staging. It just, so, but I think that's really smart. And actually our daughter is, she stages, she's accredited, but she's also getting more experience in photography. She's very interested in that. And that's something we are adding to our mix. And because I do want to control that, not only for the timing, but also, like you said, the professional pictures, that your portfolio is not going to have these cell phone pictures. You'll have these beautiful, very smart.
Yeah. And our photographer, we hire out to other agents who don't stage. So she'll have other agents that she'll go take pictures of occupied that we don't stage, or vacants that we don't stage. And one of the beauties of that is, so the billing for her services are still through Rave. So that helps offset some of her paycheck. And the other thing is, when she's there and the agent is there, because the agent usually has to let her in, because she doesn't have a lockbox key. So when she's there and she's with the agent, she's selling our services.
That's good.
So there's been many times that she's brought in really good customers because she's out there taking photographs for an agent who doesn't use us. And then we provide her a commission on those first sets of staging jobs. And then once it's our client, but she gets a commission for helping sell that service and getting us a client.
Which is really smart. So, I mean, I think anybody that you're partnering with too, whether it's movers, photography, whatever, teaching them to keep their eyes out to be able to bring more business in. And then, whether you reward that or not, I think there's, give them incentive. I think that's really smart. So I'm really excited to hear you speak. So she'll be on the main stage. I think you're on Friday, the first day. I think you're one of the first ones up. And I think you and JoAnne are, I think, in the morning session. So really excited because, those of you that have met Melissa before, maybe you've heard her speak. I mean, you definitely are a font of wisdom when it comes to the the industry. But I love that you're like me. You're a straight shooter. You're not going to pull any punches. And it's not because you have a short amount of time to get a message across. And then the people that are there, it's like they have to act on it. So there won't be any shortage of guidance as far as what to do. Then they have to implement. And I think that's really where people fall short, but then they can tap into like your coaching programs, the mentoring and things like that. There's so many resources that you and I did not have when we got started.
Yeah. And like
So,
my mentoring program, we talk for an hour every Monday. And then you have access to the recordings afterwards. And it's only $49 a month.
it's a deal. It's a bargain. It's valuable.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Well, good.
So.
Well, good. So, and send me the link to that because I can put that up on the Home Staging Talk site, or you can even type it in on the screen. So we are actually over time because we always have good conversations. So appreciate you being on. And I think we talk one more time before, I think you're on one more time before a conference in September or something. I'm not sure.
Great.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thanks, JoAnne, for being on too. And so everybody will be back next week. Will be Market. So I don't know. I'm not going to do a show, but we'll probably go live from Market. Although there hopefully will be a special segment with Tom Felicia. So that will that's going to be on. I think it's after my seminar session or the panel. Anyhow, it's been hard to nail his schedule down. So we will go live with him from the Market and have him on the show, whether it's on Wednesday or a different day. So I'll let you guys know when that's going to be. Everybody else, thanks so much. Thanks, Melissa, for being on.
Hi, thanks.
Yep, you bet. And so everybody else have a great rest of your week. And again, all these sections or segments, I should say, are all recorded. And then they're up on our YouTube channel. They're also on the homestagingtalk.com site if you want to catch any of the past segments. So I just appreciate having our guests on. And so we'll go live from Market next week. And the following week, we'll have another great show for you. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.